I think one of the questions that comes to mind, both listening to the show and reading his tweets, is whether he has bumbled this announcement or not. And I wonder, is it more of a yellow flag, if you will? I think that when we think about what's really going on, is this, an SEC issue? Has he manipulated the stock? Is this the proper way to go about making such an enormous announcement when so much money is on the line? I don't think it's a bad idea. I actually really like the idea of Elon Musk going private. It's sort of like giving an 8-year-old $1 billion and saying, go play and figure out something. But, so there's excitement to it, but it's just whether this was the right way to do it.
Baby with a hammer, maybe.
That's exactly.
That always scares me. Jed, your thoughts?
Yeah, so, I had the same initial first reaction. And we've recently picked up coverage of Tesla, although I've known the company for quite some time. But the more I thought about it last night, I actually think it's a brilliant strategy. And so if we take the emotions out of the unconventional nature of how we went about announcing it, and recognize that this is pretty common for him to announce things on Twitter. We're the ones that just aren't used to that. And frankly, it was one of the reasons we came out with a hold, was because of the unpredictable nature of Elon. However, if you look at the challenges that the company faces, one, they have a capital markets issue. And the fact that he was able to boost the shares puts him in the money of some converts that come due in this fall as well as in the springtime. And so if the stock can remain at these levels, it takes a huge risk off the table for them.
Jed, can we just talk? Jed.
Yeah.
I want to stop you because there's two major questions I have. I don't know that many people who are discounting strategically the idea of going private. I'm not sure that is the issue on the table here. You just said that, shareholders have to get used to him saying things on Twitter. I think the question is what he said on Twitter and whether it is ultimately accurate. Meaning, when he says funding secured, that would suggest, more than suggest, that would state unequivocally that he has secured funding. If you've been watching the show, you'd know that I've made phone calls, Leslie's made reporters, journalists, investors, everyone's been making phone. Nobody in funding land, all the big sources of capital in the world, seem to know nothing about this. Now, maybe we'll all get surprised and there'll be some funding source nobody's thought of, but it's not clear that that is the case. So the question is whether there's a problem here with the truth and whether that, as an investor, you have a problem with that.
Yeah, and frankly, so I don't disagree with what you're saying, and that is the, if you read our report in terms of our initiation, and just to remind those that didn't, that was the reason that, because we believe in the Tesla story as well as their market position, their product as well. Elon really put a huge risk, and so I agree with you on that. I don't disagree with that.
Jed, can I ask a question, please? If the market believed this story, where would Tesla be trading right now?
420.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, separate question. I want to talk about the idea of market manipulation for a second, because you talked about the convertible bonds, Jed, and the price tag here. There are people, cynics out there, that right now say this is an effort to push the stock up to a price at which, instead of having to pay cash, he can effectively pay with shares. Is that a problem for you?
From a dilution perspective?
No, from a legal perspective, from a moral perspective, from a real life perspective.
No, a market manipulation perspective. That you do a forced
so I'm going to stay away
from.
So one, I'm not a lawyer, and I'll let the legality of this play out with the SEC. Assuming that and also removing the moral perspective of this. And again, I think that's where we get hung up and have the most trouble stomaching how he's going about this. From a strategic perspective, if he is able to move the shares up and keep them up, it does remove a big risk.
Do you do business with people that don't tell you the truth?
What's that?
This idea that you don't care about any of these other issues, it's all strategy. I mean, most people only like to do business with people that they believe on the other side. Are you telling me you believe all of this hook, line, and sinker?
No.
You don't?
I don't.
And I think
that was the point that your colleague just raised.
This happened when Elon gave some money.
Price, exactly.